Yes, welcome. This is Ezekiel
and Sarah,
and we're here today for another episode of Marriage Matters Live. Yes, we're here for the live stream. We're here for the meat of it, real business. So hope you guys are doing well. Hope you had a great weekend this weekend. We had a bit of sunshine, right?
Yes, we did. It's been good.
Has it?
Yeah.
Really?
Good. Mm-hmm.
All good?
It's been an interesting weekend.
I like that. So how was your weekend, D? Like, shout out in the comments. Even if you're watching this after the fact, man, the last weekend you went through, how was your weekend? Just put it in the comments. We had a good weekend. We had some sunshine. It's raining here in wherever you are. Let us know. So today, we want to talk about something like, relationship centric, as we do. And today's really about, I think, one of the core components of marriage. I talk about core components on a regular. It's about that. And it's really about love. It's about love. And I'm reminded of one of the early videos that we did on this playlist. Yeah. And really what we want to talk about today is the situation that some people legitimately find themselves in, where they feel as though their relationship is not what it once was. Mm-hmm. Basically, you're married, you've got one child, and you're down the road and you're finding yourself feeling like your spouse doesn't love you. Your spouse doesn't want the relationship that you want. Yeah. So we want to talk about that. And I know this is a real might trigger some people. It might be a touchy subject for some people, touch point for some people. But I think it's really important. It's important for us to discuss this, to touch on this, and to really edge forward. A lot of people just kind of feel this and keep it moving. They just kind of live in that, and I think that's a major issue. So, Sis, come straight to you, innit? So what's your? So it's like, you start with me. It's just like, so. Do you want to kick us off?
No, you go. I'm just sorry. I'm just trying to share this thing on Instagram. I don't know why I didn't do it while the timer was
TikToking.
All
right, cool. So. Right from the top. So I've kind of given you that the little framing for what we're talking about today. So the situation is this: you're in a relationship, you're married, and for those of you who are courting again, like, there is opportunities to learn from this. So firstly, thinking about what can happen in your relationship down the road, and tools that you can utilize to avoid finding yourself in that kind of position of drudgery, finding yourself in that relationship where you're feeling that you're not fulfilled. But yet there's also opportunities here for you to learn how to observe your would-be spouse in those early stages. So you're single, you're maybe courting, and things maybe some way down the road. People court for different lengths of time. So you're courting for maybe some people. What did you hear about the other day? Really short period of
yes, 5-6 months.
So okay, or so shorter or longer. You know what I'm saying? So variable times. You're going through that period, and when you started, you're a few months later, and you're now finding that things are a little bit different. Things are a little bit odd. So really, this is the scenario, the circumstance we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And really, there's just two things, two leaders in this experience. One of them is the emotional disposition. So it's some things are happening, some words have been said, some experiences you're going through, and you feel emotionally a particular way. And the other thing really is really about your mindset. So it's your thinking. So again, you've got the same kind of trigger. So your spouse says something, or maybe doesn't say something to you that they would have typically said before. So our typical scenario is, during that period of early courting, or that period of, I call it the honeymoon, we call it the honeymoon period, where you're early in, and, things are just kind of sweet. It's just sweet. It's honey all over. Everyone's on their A game. Yeah. She's putting her best foot forward. He's putting his best foot forward. Yeah. Avoiding, kind of passing wind in front of each other. Trying to keep up that facade of, the perfection. You married into perfection. Yeah. But then a little while down the road, and you kind of feel as though there's a lack of what's the word? Like attention, a lack of regard, basically. And it's really that area there. So you start to think about that. So the two triggers that get us to this space where we're like, hold on, we're seeing these signposts and we're responding or reacting to them is I'm thinking differently about something, or I'm thinking about something, versus I'm feeling a particular way about something. And those are the two things that I think we really need to address, because the feelings and the thinking are two key proponents to getting us out of the space that we're in. So I think that's super important.
I mean, for me, when we're talking about this whole subject, does my spouse love me? again, it's something that plays on the mind, and it doesn't just play on the mind in a sense. For some people, they can make something into a reality that isn't actually even a reality.
That's right. I got you.
So sometimes, you know, when one spouse is feeling neglected, they're feeling like, you know, time's not being spent with them. They're not getting help around the house with the children. It's kind of like, you know, they're doing them, and the spouse is left to do whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
So just the whole breakdown of communication, the relationship isn't building. So it's understandable when people start to feel like, okay, something's not right here. You know, what's wrong with the relationship? I'm not feeling loved like I used to.
Yeah.
You know, and all of these things can begin to build up, but then we find ourselves in a position where if you're not in a relationship, or you haven't cultivated a relationship of communication where you can just say things, then a lot of people find themselves not talking. They find themselves just bottling things up.
Yep.
Or even taking the issues to someone else and having that other person converse with them, but that person can't resolve the problem, can't resolve it for them, because it's like, oh yeah, I'm just listening to what you're saying, but I'm not your husband, I'm not your wife.
External to the relationship.
Exactly,
external parties, yeah.
You know, some people feel so comfortable talking to someone else about being extremely open about their relationship, but when they're sitting in front of their spouse, like, I don't want to hurt your feelings, I don't know how you're going to react, I don't know what to say to you because I've spoken to you before and you haven't like taken what I've said on board, or whatever it may be. So they can even pull back from talking to their spouse, which then makes that situation a lot more challenging. Yeah,
I think you're raising a really key point there, and I think that this is where mindset throughout the life of a relationship, even when you start out, and we've spoken about this way back early in the playlist, you know, two people come together, they're coming from different families, all right? So you've got so much input, so much character, so much influence, so much emotional influence. You know, one part of the couple has seen their parents act really kind of thoughtful, methodical, or maybe seen their mum act that way in a relationship where the dad is a little bit more, you know, kind of emotional and kind of a more physical kind of character. Where on the flip side, you've got the other spouse who their parents were very kind of passive, both extremely passive. So you've got that coming in. Maybe one was passive with a kind of like a stush kind of nature, where one was passive and kind of, you know, maybe like a little bit backbiting and that kind of stuff. So maybe spiteful and not so spiteful. You've got all of that. I'm giving you guys just examples, you know, random examples. You've got all of that coming into the relationship. So the thinking, as we've spoken about so often, really needs to be established early on. How do we think our way through these situations as a couple? And this is why we always talk about agreement. Like, it's really important, so important for us to have, you know, our worldview locked in. So important for us to have our plan, our family plan locked in. Because if we don't have those things, this really causes a problem. And your family plan, I've said it before, like physical things should be in there. Your physical well-being, your mental, like your soulish, emotional well-being. And obviously we've got that breaks off into other areas, spiritual well-being, and it breaks off into kind of, you know, those kind of micro areas about your finances, your personal development, all that kind of stuff. But this is really important. It's so important to have those things ironed out because they affect the way you think. And if we leave things down to happenstance or, you know, assumption, we find ourselves in problems, basically. So I think, that was a really good point you're talking about. Just the way we think through those situations and how we engage them is really key.
And again, if you've got two couples who are quite prideful in their own sense, in a sense, you know, they carry themselves a certain way, they don't want people to see them, you know, a certain way, they don't want people to know that, you know, the relationship is kind of breaking down. So you get people, you know, because of pride, they're not even addressing these issues, or because of pride, it's like, you know, I'm not gonna tell you I don't love you anymore. I'm gonna stick around just because I want us to maintain this facade of who we are, and I don't want that broken down, whether it's the male, whether it's the female, you know. And a lot of the times that in itself is very unhealthy, because they're not getting anywhere walking around in pride. And you know, sometimes if we are raised in environments where it's kind of like you just bottle it up, you just keep it moving, you know, and some people grew up watching their parents, you know, in situations where they knew they didn't love each other, but they tolerated each other. So some people enter into marriages with the mindset that if I ever get to this place of, oh, I'm not feeling loved or I'm not loving, I'm just going to tolerate the situation.
Yeah.
So tolerance is something that a lot of couples do.
Yeah.
They just tolerate the situation. They tolerate the environment. They tolerate the way things are between the two of them.
Yeah.
And it's not that they don't want to fix it. It's just that the pride is not allowing them to bring down the bridges to try to fix it.
You know, let's see that. Yeah, it just hits something on the head for me, and it's the Lord really dealt with me in that area early on, and I think it was early on in my faith, and obviously during the mid phase of our relationship, while we were still in that kind of dating phase, I'd say even into marriage, I think the Lord really was dealing with me over that as well. And pride is such a an enemy, right? Like pride is such a tormentor, because what pride will do is it will feed you a narrative, and the narrative that it's feeding you is abundantly different from the persona that you present when you're engaging other people. So it's like it's a two-edged sword. It's like you're being told a lie, which makes you. It's like you're right though, but you're right. You're right in this situation, and you should be worshipped or whatever. Then you go and you're presenting that narrative, but it's such a lie. It's such a deception. And the richest thing about the whole thing is, I understood from over time going through scripture, spending time with the Lord, that the more we humble ourselves, the more we find ourselves in God. And it's so important. This is such an important reality, that it's not really about me, the God, the idol, me, the person, raising myself up above everyone else. And so for me, like that really is a kind of touch point, because for me, that was a major issue before, really feeling like I was somebody, like I had a right to be, this, like to the persona, basically, when in reality, like that's not conducive to developing strong, healthy relationships. Yeah. And you find that no matter where you are. We're talking about relationships, husband and wife. We're talking about, like I told you guys, courting relationships, family relationships, parent-children dynamic. Even you go to work and you find colleagues at work, like one of the most amazing managers I ever had is a real humble person, super humble, kind of someone that came down to your level, not someone who was trying to
overpower you because they were your manager.
Exactly, position themselves
position than you.
Yeah, exactly. And we respected him for that because he was down to earth. We always knew that he was the person to go to. We would have to kind of, like, the buck stopped with him essentially, but he was never kind of unapproachable, and it's a beautiful thing when you see that. And that's really a picture of when you see Christ, the Master. We had a wonderful conversation about a few days ago, and it's a beautiful thing. Look, Jesus, we were having a conversation. Sarah brought up the point that Jesus washed his disciples' feet. We're talking about the Son of the living God, the one, the Alpha, the Omega. He was there at the beginning, and he, like, in all his
glory,
was able to, I won't say all his glory, but just
it wasn't
in all of his essence, in all of his person, in all of his position and authority, saw fit to wash the feet of his disciples. And that is such a paradigm shift for many people, many husbands even. I'll put it out there now. For many husbands, that's a paradigm shift, because when you feel like, there should be a particular structure in the house,
and I want to uphold it because this is my position, so I'm never going to do anything contrary to it.
Yeah, and what they don't understand is the example that we've got. He says, "Love your." We're supposed to, husbands should love our wives like Christ loved the church, and that in itself is telling us, you need to wash the feet of your disciples. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
ladies.
No, I'm just saying. So obviously it's an interesting point that how we like sometimes like to hear the things that suit us, but I'm digressing, I feel. So let's just getting back on. I think it was a good point you're raising, and when it comes to pride, it's a major issue. Pride is a major factor. So drawing back to this, if you are that spouse who feels like, that you're losing love on the other side, you're losing faith, your spouse is losing faith in you or something, really, pride is one of those things that will stop an individual from talking about it. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And one of the key things...
Pride or stubbornness. I mean, I know they're similar, but sometimes someone might be more stubborn in a sense, and it's just like, I'm not talking, and it's not, I don't know, because sometimes I don't always think stubbornness and pride is the same. I feel like they do have certain distinctions, because children can be stubborn, but they're not prideful, if you get what I'm saying.
I think pride and stubbornness are cousins.
They're like brothers and sisters. So no, they definitely are. They definitely are. But what I was gonna say is that
close relatives.
what I was going to say, I feel like for me, first thing is people understanding what love is and addressing what love is.
Let's go.
Because if you have a wrong perception of what love is and you feel like your husband's not buying you clothes, or your wife is not cooking the way she cooks for you anymore, or look, look, she didn't put the crease in my clothes properly, oh look, or whatever the complaints may be, those minor complaints or those worldly sort of complaints, or the things, or we haven't gone out, or he doesn't sit with me anymore, like things that are not really, they're superficial in a sense, important sometimes, but again, this understanding what love actually is in a marriage, as opposed to what has media told us what love is in a marriage, what has music told us what love is, all that, some people listen to songs and they're like, oh, this song just makes me feel so loving and whatever, oh, this is how love looks and this is how a relationship should be, and they're watching a music video and the man's taking the girl on a yacht and pouring champagne and and taking her shopping and all all those things. All of those things that just look glam and look great, but is that really what love is? So some people get to the place where they're kind of like now putting certain things in categories and going, I'm not being loved anymore. Do you get what I'm saying? Or, just because he's not, and sometimes, it's taking things into consideration. What's happening in that point of your life? What has taken place? Has certain things changed? Has your environment changed? Has your finances changed? Is your spouse doing more hours? Just different things that can turn around to be like, okay, why is the relationship beginning to look like this?
Yeah.
What's causing me to not feel like I did 6 months ago? Analyzing a situation as opposed to just kind of feeling, oh, this relationship is not what it used to be, or me and my spouse are growing apart, people like to say.
Yeah.
What's causing these things? What is coming in between the two of you? What situations have you been facing? Have you had communication breakdown? Is one of you, on a weight loss journey and the other one isn't? Stuff like, because it could be things like that. One spouse might be embracing themselves a bit more and is thriving and pushing forward, whereas the other spouse is maybe has low self-esteem or doesn't have the energy to do certain things, and they're looking, going, am I being left behind? Do you know what I'm saying? So there are I feel like there are so many different factors that come into playing on this situation on why a spouse isn't feeling loved. I hope you guys get what I'm saying.
So quick question. So based on what you're saying, so knowing that there are many different factors that can instigate this, many different roads that could lead to this, what is, and I wanted to tackle this like a little bit later on down the line, but what are some of the signposts that we can observe early on to be able to acknowledge? So either if you want to take that.
Well, the first thing I would say, to be fair, is the spouse who isn't feeling loved, have they changed?
Yeah.
Before you point the finger, you need to look at yourself. Okay. Has that person changed? I'm just going to speak from the wife's perspective. You can take from the male perspective instead of me interchanging. So if a wife is feeling like she's not feeling loved, or she feels like her husband is not showing her as much attention as she used to, some women are attention seekers.
Yes, they are.
And it's just the way it is, because they want their husband's attention. They don't like when their husband's paying someone else attention, whatever it may be. But some people are attention seekers. So it could be a thing of where, is that attention seeking, the attention that you was getting before, has things changed? That's the reason why you're not getting as much attention anymore, as opposed to, my husband doesn't love me, or my husband's falling out of love with me, or whatever it may be.
So dialing back to the initial example, say for example, they're in a honeymoon period, broken out of that, so they're like maybe a year and a half in, and she was dressing a certain way all times of the day, no matter, like I was saying, like not trying to pass wind, so really trying to put your best foot forward, basically. So in terms of doing that, she has set a standard which draws his attention.
Right.
But so is that, it's kind of,
because and that's
that's what you're talking about. How has she changed? How has she changed? Has triggered a change in him.
Exactly. And I feel sometimes, when we find ourselves in certain situations, we're not pointing the finger at ourselves saying, am I the one that isn't behaving in a way where I should be loved?
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? Like, am I snapping all the time? Am I griping all the time? Am I complaining about everything? Am I not happy when he even does something, or whatever it may be?
Yeah.
Like, just different things to say, okay, let me analyze myself first before I start to feel my husband doesn't love me. Let me see what's going on here. And likewise, a husband should be able to sit himself down and say, okay, my wife has said something to me. What's going on here? Is it me? Is it her? Is it us? It's always got to be us, but people won't be quick to say it's us. People are quick to say it's you.
Yeah, of course.
It's not me kind of thing. So yeah, I think definitely dealing with yourself first, and just self-reflecting is the word really. Self-reflecting, I think that's a good place to start when you find yourself in this situation, because even like with me and Ezekiel, if certain things are going on and I sense he's not happy with me, I stop and think to myself, okay, Sarah, right, yeah, fair enough, you flopped in it, like you messed up, like, do you get what I'm saying? You won't be like
he done something.
No, I might be, but then I'm kind of like, if I know that you're ignoring me, you won't really ignore me if you're at fault.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm trying to say?
I got you, yeah. I'm just saying for those out there, like some people may be like, oh no, like it's not like that. Like a husband may choose to ignore his wife because
he don't want to say nothing.
So, I don't know, but just like it's like there could always be a flip side to it. It's not that she wronged me, but it's that.
But then it's like, why are you airing her if she didn't wrong you?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So a lot of the times, but I'm just saying that
some people are strange in it.
I pick up certain things like if you are airing me, you're airing me because I've done something. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So it's kind of like, I'm like, okay, all right. And I come to you whichever which way. I come to you. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But I do stop and think to myself, okay, Sarah, like, what happened? This happened, that happened. All right, yeah, okay, cool. Maybe you should be the one apologizing kind of thing. So it's just, that's just a small example. But obviously this topic is quite deep when people are beginning to feel like the love in their relationship is dwindling and they're hanging on to that last thread, So some people are in situations where it's a lot deeper, than the way I'm putting it now, in a sense. This is just like, the way I'm talking about it's like the beginning.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Just highlighting those
right.
situations.
So the beginning phases, before you even get to the point where the ship is sinking, it's self-reflection and talking, like saying something because if you don't say something, it's all in your head.
And this is my issue, and I think this is why we're such great advocates of communication.
Yeah.
This is why it's so key. Even when you're verbalizing things, and this is where the worldview comes in, this is where your experience comes in, this is where your home training comes in. Even when you're verbalizing things, and I see this at home with Grace, yeah? So we talk about stuff, and I'm saying something, and I don't know if it's the female in her, or it's the what, but it's like, we'll be talking about something, and it's like, no, but what I meant, or what I'm saying is this. And I'm just like, okay, I understand what you're saying, but what you mean, but what you said is this. And it's like, I think because we've had so much time together, we don't, that is marginal in the length and breadth of our conversations. That's a marginal thing, like that level of miscommunication. Yeah. However, I could see a fresh couple, a couple who's kind of growing and developing themselves, who haven't focused on communication. They could be married for 10 years, but because they haven't focused on communication, that is something that's it's a key proponent to their arguments. I said this and you took it the wrong way, but it's like, you guys have not really worked out your communication. Until you work out your own marriage language, the language of your marriage, it's going to be an issue. And I think because those are things that we've addressed real early, and we've kind of set certain structures in place which help us. And so it's like, just using that example of me and Grace, I think it's evident to observe how challenges can set in based on the language that we use and our understanding of each other, basically. So I think you're right. There are so many different. It's such a deep pool, really, and there are so many different ways a person can find themselves in this situation. And I think, to look at some practical stuff now, like Sarah's really tackled it from the side of a wife. And I think when you really think about it, for me, if I'm thinking about a loss of love from my spouse, it's the way I operate, it's the way I organize things. I always categorize things up, and it's just like, for me, everything is spiritual. It's the soul, or it's the body, and it's like, those are the three core components of man. Those are the three core categories of life for me, and I see things that way, and everything else is an offshoot of that. I remember there was a time, what?
You got it?
No.
Where is it?
All right, guys, give us a second. Give us a second.
Should I find it?
Yeah, I don't think it's here.
Is it upstairs?
Yeah, in a green bag.
Oh no. Okay.
There's one there.
Oh, is it? Oh gosh. I'll get it.
Live, guys. Live show. Live show, you know. Live show.
Sorry.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I need to just
Super.
follow the trail.
Thank you. All right, cool. So the point, while Sarah's busy around the corner, I'll just continue here. So I think, I break things up into spirit, soul, and body. So the core components that I see there are, am I being neglected? Am I feeling like there's neglect spiritually? So I remember there was a point in time, some years back. Let me get the top end of that. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Go.
Yeah, I remember there was a
We good?
Yeah, Sarah just saved the show, guys. By the way, she just saved the show. You guys are going to lose our connection right then, yeah. Yeah. So thanks to Sarah's super attentiveness. You know what I'm saying? I had a tiger. So yeah. So I remember there was a time way back. So I was at work and I was just thinking, this is like years ago, and I was just thinking about Sarah, and I was just like, oh, my ideal relationship, and we kind of work through some of this stuff with couples as well. When if we're coaching with you or working through stuff with you, but this is something that just came to me on a particular day, and I was just sitting, I was just like, you know what is the ideal for me? And then I started to write, you know, like I categorized things, spirit, soul, and body. And I was just like, oh, me and Sarah will pray together. Like, me and Sarah will read the Bible together. And I was talking about things like, we will work out, we'll exercise together. Like, we'll talk and we'll read books together. It's like, so there were even stuff like this, like sharing here now, like talking to you guys about relationship, reaching out, trying to support other couples, really trying to reach out to where you guys are and share some of the lessons that we've learned, some of the experiences that we've had with you guys. These are some of the things that I think have been key for us in terms of fulfilling our relationship goals and desires. Yeah. And it's super important because for me it would be looking at things and say, okay, well, like, why is our prayer life not as it was? Why is our Bible reading not where it's supposed to be, kind of thing? And it's like looking at those practical kind of things, and then I'd be like, okay, maybe something's up. So for me, signposts, those would be the early signposts. If you've kind of organized things early on, you've got a structure, you've got expectations. That's all it is. You're raising the bar of expectation for each other, not in your mind, oh, I expect her to do this, but you've spoken about it and you're saying, okay, look, this is what I feel would be good for you. This is what you feel will be good for me. Where can we meet in the middle? What can we work on over the next 6 months and try and implement to create a kind of that authentic love, create that dynamism in our relationship? And I think those are some of the early signposts. When I see things are not as we have agreed, basically. But I think the flip side, like, and I'm taking it from a structure of like a kind of a more organized relationship. Yeah. So on a flip side, you know, like we've seen some crazy stuff basically. So where couples don't have this agreement and yet are contravening the obvious lines that are globally accepted as relational lines. You know what I'm saying? It's like a man's at work and his wife is inviting other males around to the house to kick back and chill. It's like, you know, that's maybe not appropriate. You know what I mean? It's like, maybe if it was something that happened on occasion or whatever, but this became a consistent, recurring thing, you know, that's a challenge, isn't it? And obviously someone's gonna begin
challenge. Wow.
Obviously someone's gonna start to feel away, and then obviously we can go into things like when we're out, one of the couples is talking negatively about the spouse in an open. And look, let me put this out here now. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be honest about our spouses. I'm not saying that, but my role is to defend Sarah, is to protect Sarah, and in many senses, her role is to protect me. And I'm talking about protection of character. You know what I'm saying? Protection, emotional protection. Those are kind of things that we support each other with. So it's like if you're going out now, you're just like you spent the whole night out with a friend, and all you do is every
mash the husband.
Yeah, every tail end of the conversation, you're chucking in or making, what do you call it, banter? Is that banter thing?
That's clear signs of an unhappy wife, isn't it?
No, but
I don't know whether it's unhappy, but obviously a clear sign of problem.
But that's what I say. Someone might say, oh, it's banter though. It's just banter. You know, we're full of banter, and it's like, that's how we are out. So I'm saying those things there are ways that we can observe and acknowledge challenges in a relationship, moving away from our agreed, or maybe more widely speaking, the commonly agreed relational boundaries, basically. Make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you guys think? Like, what's kind of crossing the line in terms of, you know, your relational like respect like zone. Do you know what I mean? It's like what's crossing the line, and next to that, what do you feel is a clear sign of a loss of love? And we say loss of love, it's really kind of a loss of reverence, a loss of respect, a loss of appreciation for a spouse. What are some of the clear signs in terms of that, would you guys say? Yes, I think probably we can just maybe tackle a little bit about some of the solutions, and we've started in that way already, kind of segued into that. One of the key things for me is to be super honest with ourselves about the fact that feelings are not fact. Like feelings, I say this all the time, they're real, okay, but they're not always like honest. They're real, but they're not always true. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like they send us a message, they give us this kind of trigger, but it's not always a reflection of a sober reality. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you know, they say, there's that phrase they use, oh, he saw red or she saw red. And then obviously red caused them to act like a bull, innit? So, and I think it's important for us to acknowledge that these things are not, you're laughing, these things are not cause for us to build our relationship or our actions, even like low level actions on. I felt emotional, so I did this or I did that. Like, you know, I think that is a key place for us to really say my feelings are not going to be the instigator for actions, significant actions in my relationship.
I mean, I was just gonna say, like, when someone says they don't think their spouse loves them anymore, it's because they're saying the words they don't think. It hasn't come from the spouse. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it could, listen, we could talk about both. So it could be the spouse has said they don't love them, or like I'm trying to deal with this from a space of now these examples. Someone seeing the signpost.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, and there's you know, I started with that internal mindset or feelings. Those are the two things, and typically if it's a mindset issue, it's you're seeing something in your feet and then you're interpreting it away, or something's happened, you've experienced something and you're feeling away. So you've been triggered emotionally, or you've been triggered mentally, intellectually. So yeah, maybe it's not, maybe you're right, it's not a open proclamation, I don't love you. Because
if they've experienced infidelity, if they've experienced, you know, another person coming into the relationship, or if they've noticed that their spouse is talking to someone else, or if they've noticed that, you know, every time they try to initiate something, they get shunned away.
Intimacy.
Or whichever it might be, time spent together, let's do this, let's do that, let's try something new. And it's like, no, I don't want to. You know, there are different things that people do to make someone feel as if they don't love them without actually telling them verbally. That's right. Because even a lot of relationships that have crumbled and have broken down, it hasn't even come out verbally. It's come out because they've been caught. It's come out because someone's told them. It's come out because they've read a text message. It's come out because they've seen a video, or they sent a detective to go and take pictures. It's always been most of the times it hasn't been the spouse that has just blatantly come out and been like, honey, I don't love you anymore. I'm out. Do you get what I'm saying? So people generally find out things gradually, you know, or they find things out all at once. It's like a massive shock, you know, oh my gosh, where did this come from? How did this happen? What did I do? You know, and there's just so much that goes with the situation, you know, and again, sometimes people act like they can't see. They act like they can't see stuff. They blind themselves to the things that are actually taking place in their relationship. So they don't want to notice that their husband's not talking to them anymore. They don't want to notice that they're only having sex once a week anymore. They don't want to notice that, you know, he's not coming home on time anymore. They're just in denial. In denial, you know. And a lot of the times when someone is that much in denial, they then say, oh, my spouse doesn't love me anymore. I don't know what's going on. Why doesn't it? But the signs have been there, but they've just chosen not to pick it up. One, because they don't want to break up with that person. Two, because obviously they love that person so much that even no matter what they're doing, they're just turning a blind eye to it, you know. So a lot of times people are experiencing this particular topic, but they're not taking any actions to rectify. They're not taking any actions to make it obvious, to pull it out and say, why is this happening? Can we sit down and talk? What's going on between the two of us? Why is it that I've seen this message? What's this about? Some people don't want the confrontation. And then it ends up, a lot of times people who don't have the confrontation wake up one day and the bags are being packed and the spouse is like, I'm leaving. And it's like, what? So for me, it's definitely like tackling something like this. It's not about turning a blind eye to it and just thinking it in your head and just thinking it in your mind, because that in itself can make someone even go a little bit loopy in a sense. Just the mental state of mind. If you're not verbalizing things, you just keep bottling it up, someone can just break down and crumble one day.
So to get clarity on that last statement there, are we talking about the individual that believes their spouse is not loving them?
Yeah, it's
bottling it up, what they're observing.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yes, because some people know that they're not being loved, but they're not saying anything. Yeah. Like I said,
they know they're not being loved.
Yeah, they're just turning a blind eye to it because, again, it could be pride. It could be we are that couple,
power couple,
that power couple. Let's not, no one needs to know that you don't. You're not paying me no mind.
No one, not even us.
And some people do live their lives like that and do live out marriages like that, but that's very unhealthy.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
That's very unhealthy.
It's so crazy. And I think your
honesty, in a sense. Honesty.
That's exactly this week we connected, boy. Like that's exactly the point I was going to make, and I think this is one of the challenges because people don't have that degree of honesty in their relationship. They're not honest with themselves. They're not honest with their spouse. And this is the thing, it's like, that's why I very much like the way that we are in terms of the way we address things. It's normally like really quick. And we've got a video, we'll talk to you guys in one of the upcoming streams about forgiveness, right? And one of the approach we take. But it's like, I think this is really key because...
We spoke about that, actually, to be fair.
Yeah, we've got a whole stream coming up for that. But and I think it's really important for us to highlight the importance of honesty, as you've said it. It's like, honesty is a key... display of the integrity that stands in your relationship. It's like if your relationship is really, built on the rocks, you're able to you're able to kind of address things head on early in a timely manner because and out of fear of reprisal, because it's not about they're gonna do something back to me, but they understand, look, this relationship is about love, and I'm only gonna say something to you like when I'm sober-minded, that I believe will help us grow in this relationship. And I think it's a major issue because many people are putting themselves in worse situations. Like you said, mental health now is a factor. When a person cannot verbalize what's going on internally, that's a big issue.
And you find that some people start overcompensating. They start overdoing things, because they're trying to cover up those the obvious things that are happening in the relationship.
Yeah, I think something that stands out to me now even is that it's like, I think fear is a major factor here.
Yeah.
There are some people...
Yeah, definitely.
You said it earlier on, you alluded to it. There are some people who have identified certain things and they are afraid their spouse will leave them or the relationship will break down if they make a point of it. Probably because in the past, they've not had... good experiences with heated fellowship. So like there's been arguments, there's been turmoil, there's been challenges, and it's never ended well. And because of that, there's this fear the relationship will break down, fear that the spouse will leave them, fear that if they get into it, they won't be heard, there won't be a reasonable solution, a significant win out of that situation. So I think that's a key point. And fear is a factor. I think fear is a major factor that can really push people in the wrong direction, to make wrong decisions in wrong directions, take wrong actions that lead them in the wrong direction in this scenario. Yeah. So another thing I wanted to pick up is like, some people feel like this, like, when we see situations like this, and there's this fear, there's this concern, there's this unresolved tension. People feel at that point in time, and this is where getting wrong counsel is a big issue. Yeah, people feel at that point in time, it's time for divorce. Like, legit, like it's over.
Yeah,
it's over. Like, imagine that scenario I said to you just a moment ago. So they're afraid, they're concerned. It's not gonna, and it's like you said it, like a point of kind of overcompensating is maybe like, oh, you know, I just need to get out of here. Like, or like maybe over-exaggerating the situation. I need to get out of here. Like, it's too much. This is not going to work. Something. They're going to reject me, so let me just step away now. And then they
telling
think
themselves all the negative without,
because there's no counsel.
Yeah.
There's no sober voice there. It's all emotional or all an intellectual logic that is negative. And that the relationship could be salvaged, but it's not because of the stance they're taking, because of the mindset they've got. And I think that's a key thing. I think it's key for us to fully acknowledge that this is the difference between dating, all right? This is the difference between dating and the covenant of marriage, all right? When you've got a couple who are like, oh, we're just together 10 years or whatever, then you've got another couple who understands the covenant of marriage. One of those relationships, just by proxy, is in a better standing because the covenant is not for a day or a week or for a decade, it's for life.
That's right.
And if we have that as a like the pinnacle of our approach to marriage, then I think we're winning because we see it for what it truly is. Whereas other people are going into it and it's just like understanding it's a covenant, understanding it's a lifelong commitment, automatically you're poised to resolve situations. I remember a husband talking to me and he was just like, there's nothing that he can do to appease the wife, basically. Like, this is it. She has had enough. And like, to be fair, there's some stuff that he did that was maybe unacceptable, just in a way that his manners didn't change. And they were quite really old, really elderly people. But the challenge was that she was not willing to accept his apology. She was not willing, or let me double back. She was not willing to accept him, basically. And this is a problem, basically. So there was a point where she was like, look, I've had enough. This is it. So this is not just young people. This is elderly. We're talking about kind of lining on to retirement age. These are situations that we see where if we enter into this thing with the wrong mindset, it's like, oh, you know what, it's over. I'm done. And I don't even know that, like, if I was to be open and say, like, this is what he did, it's like, it's not even something that we could not get over. Do you know what I'm saying? Of course, every situation is significant personally, yet this is not the worst circumstance or challenge that has been presented.
But living in that environment, living in that situation where, you know, a spouse doesn't feel loved can bring on massive depression.
For sure.
You know, and once someone finds themselves in that place of depression and they're not able to bring themselves out, everything just dwindles. And that marriage itself is not even going to last because that person, the spouse who now is depressed, can't perform, can't even, you know, give what they got depressed for in the first place. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? You know, so it's so important. It's so important for couples to really not let, for spouses to not let their relationship get to a place where one person is now swinging alcohol every night, you know, another person is now sleeping out, or, you know, just things just going down the drain, you know. And if they have decided and they've come to the conclusion they don't want to be in the marriage anymore, okay, then they have to sort that out. But if they're not making any moves, like, I'm not in or out, that itself is extremely confusing, and that can be extremely frustrating. Because I don't know if you're going, I don't know if you're coming. I don't know if you like me, I don't know if you don't. I don't know if you're going to be here for the kids, I don't know if you're not going to be, you know. And there's so many questions, so many questions, which can even make matters so much worse. Like you said, marriages can be saved if two people are willing to, you know, put in the work that it needs to save that marriage, you know. But if you've got one spouse who's just not on it, and you've got another spouse who is actually fighting for that relationship, there's an imbalance again, you know. There's a massive imbalance, and the only way to sort that is to get the spouse who's not putting as much effort into it anymore to put effort in to make it work.
So, like, in principle, that sounds easy and that sounds right. But the reality is, what do you do in a situation where the other person isn't budging?
I mean, I think we've spoke about this before.
Yeah.
And I said what I said. I remember saying last time, and I think it will be the same thing. Then they would have to go their separate ways to fix themselves up.
So that couple, so that married couple should separate so that they can fix the relationship.
Yeah, because sometimes
what does that look like?
Because sometimes them being together is extremely toxic.
No, what does it look like though?
It just looks like, you know,
divorce. Is what I'm asking.
No, not divorce, not divorce, but
no. You know when you say separate, it's like I think separation can connote.
No, like because when things are really bad, people want to just divorce because they can't see it working out because they're still under the same roof and they're constantly fighting. So sometimes even if it's for the guy to stay with his brother for a few weeks or a month or whatever while the woman stays home, or the mum or the wife stays with her friend for a few weeks to really get themselves into really. Because like I said, people have to work on themselves individually. And sometimes being in the same environment with no third party doesn't help. If someone goes to stay with a friend and the friend understands they're having problems, and that friend can sit them down and say, okay, look, what's going on?
So how about
to help? Obviously, I mean, we spoke about counselling or coaching last time,
of course,
and it's a similar thing. You know, it's a similar thing. Where do you go to get the help?
Yeah.
Where do you go to get the help? Do you go to a friend who can give you enough wisdom to say to you, look, I've been telling you this for years. Now look where you are. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So, and again, it depends on the type of people that people have around them. If people have nonsense people around them who's just like, yeah, you should break up with, like, I told you long time, leave him, girl. Like, do you know what I mean? He's been no good for you, blah, blah, blah. You don't want to go and stay at her house. Because she's not going to help. Do you get what I'm trying to say? But sometimes it is just getting that space, even if it is, you know, renting, you know, an Airbnb for a couple weeks just to get some, because even, you know, people, I've watched interviews where people have separated. They didn't divorce, they separated for a period of time, they came back together. I've seen interviews where people divorced for 10 years and came back together. Why? The statement was always, when they wasn't with that person anymore, they realized that they wanted to be with that person, but them being around that person at the time was just toxic. And they were even in positions where they were depressed. They had mental things going on. They had financial problems. They were both imbalanced, you know. So sometimes husbands and wives are fighting to stay under the same roof, but staying under the same roof is not actually helping to solve the problem. So
I was going to say, so would you, I understand that thank you for the clarity, that makes a lot of sense. So I was going to say, would you say, would you flip it around and say, okay, have someone come in and stay with them?
That could help. That could definitely help. I mean, some people have wonderful in-laws. Absolutely brilliant in-laws. You know, where... Parents, you know, where the parent can come round, or it will be an in-law for one of them. You're not going to have both parents. Sorry.
My mistake. Sorry.
You know, some people have wonderful in-laws that in-law can actually come and say, you know what, I'm gonna come and stay for a few weeks, okay? Because I can clearly see you two have issues, you know. And you even have some parents who are still together, and they will both come. The mum and the dad will come, you know, and the mum can look after the kids while the two of them go on counselling sessions, or the parents can help out, or the sister or the brother, whoever it is, can be in the house. And even when they're having their situations, there's someone else to talk to. There's someone else to intervene. That's also something. If people have people in their lives that are that good and that close to them, that's also a wonderful option.
I think it goes back to what you were saying before. Obviously, not everyone has that view where they're willing to introduce people into the relationship like that. And again, obviously, that is the whole kind of the pride side of things. Then again, functionally, logistically, not everyone has that space. Potentially, especially I know a lot of my people still in London, kind of up in the sticks. So, or not out in the sticks, I should say. So obviously, there's that dynamic. But yeah, I say it just to kind of throw like a curveball on it, because when we say like separation, some people are just like, yeah, I need to get away. But the reality is, what we really need is to reconstruct the marriage. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, there's a lot of things to reconstruct, but I think ideally it's about reconstructing the marriage, the family plan. I think that's the key. And where that's lacking, obviously because people are acting outside of the expected behavior, expected decorum, then obviously I think there's a necessity there for that to be reevaluated. Let's reevaluate that, let's restructure that, and let's reapply. And like you're saying, sometimes space is required, yet I feel as though like you gave some good examples about the whole 10 years going away, both divorcing, 10 year separation. I think sometimes moving away and coming back can even cause different types of problems, basically. And again, I think maybe for me, it all comes down to counsel. Who's counselling who?
But I think it's maturity as well. It's maturity as well, because some people, they do get married, with a very immature mindset, and they behave immaturely in that marriage.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it does take people to mature to be at a place where they're like, I'm ready to face this. I'm ready to handle this. I'm ready to take this on again.
So my issue is, if you leave it to a person, and I'm talking about generally, man is never ready. People are never ready. It's it's not the right time. It's not the right time. Not the right time to get married. Not the right time to have a child. Not the right time to buy a house. It's like, it's always not the right time. And I think that's because of where we started, the issues with the mindset, the issues with the emotions. And I think those two things are constantly feeding and guiding and directing a lot of people. We spoke last year now about trying to keep up with the Joneses. Do you know what I'm saying? People are really trying to, and I think that alone, that pressure, that societal pressure, that cultural pressure can feed into that whole separation and then coming back together, and just the whole family plan altogether. But let's just tackle just a few more points about resolutions. So again, obviously you guys know this is Marriage Matters. We're here about helping you guys really foster a stronger and more authentic love in your relationship, in your marriage. And I think one of the key things for me is always prayer. I think prayer is paramount. I think a lot of people don't understand the significance of prayer when it comes to relationships. For us to really acknowledge the place that prayer has in terms of developing your relationship. People don't understand that prayer can help money issues. Prayer can help emotional issues.
Definitely.
Prayer can help. It's like, a lot of the time, like what you were talking about earlier on, you're pointing at another person, like, it's you. Prayer can help us to see us, the issue with us in the situation. And even just that alone is one of the things that makes prayer priceless. I think another solution or another activity to undergo is to really kind of, and this is pre the reconstruction of the family plan, but it's really about evaluating the problem. So you gave some really good examples of how when you look at the situations that people are going through and the things that they're doing, really we need to kind of step back and really just take a moment of reflection. And I think part of that reflection is evaluating the problem at hand. Is it micro or is it macro? Is it a massive issue, as I'm really seeing it, or is this really something small and minor that we can discuss and debate through over dinner, over coffee, and just really get it sorted? Do you know what I'm saying? Coffee can just fix things super quick. It's you don't know, but it's just you take that time out, you go, we don't drink coffee, but you know what I mean? It's just so, and it's just I think that situation can really help just to evaluate things. And people don't, I think there's not enough of that because of the pride factor, because of the fear factor, because of the pressure factor, all those kind of things. So I think those are the two of the other things. I think talking, man, I'll let you talk about that because
I feel like we've really spoken about that, to be fair. And I know that the people who watch this show are understanding that we are big on communication, and talking is it's a make or break. It's definitely a make or break. And there is no point in having something running around in your head and making assumptions, as opposed to, there's a big difference, with having something running around your head. Does he not? Oh, maybe he's doing this. Oh, he's changed this. Oh, la, la, oh, la. As opposed to be like, Han, wagwan.
And do you get
what I mean?
I think the key factor is
straight up,
we are not mind readers. As much as experienced as we might be in relationship, as friendly as we may be, to perceive that we just know. I think that's a big issue. Talk is so necessary.
Obviously, but there are people they just don't want that confrontation. They don't want, because it's like if someone's hurting, they've already kind of calculated things in their head, how things might play out. This might not go well if it goes like this, and I'm hurting already. If I say something and start it and say something, it's just going to cause me even more pain. Mm-hmm. And some people don't want to hurt more than they're already hurting.
It's that fear factor. Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, it's one of those things. That's why for me, there has to be a balance in a marriage where you have to understand that, look, you cannot let fear drive you.
Come on now.
You can't let fear drive your relationship, because if you let fear drive your relationship, you're gonna sit on the fear boat and sail into an abyss, and only God knows what's gonna happen. Whereas if you're kind of like, you know what, we're in this for the long run, whatever comes out, we can fix it, but we need to address it, and the only way to address it is by talking to your spouse, you know. For those of you, if you did miss the beginning, it was kind of like, you know, people have things going on in their heads, and if it's just in your head, then it's just in your head.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change.
That's right.
You know, nothing's going to change. And then, you know, you have people who want to turn a blind eye. If you turn a blind eye, that means you're not seeing anything. You know, so for me, it's 100%. You just have to be bold enough sometimes, not sometimes, all of the time in your relationship, be bold enough to understand that your spouse is your friend. And the same way you're bold enough to talk to your girl about anything, you should be bold enough to talk to your spouse about anything also.
And on that note, like, this is super key. And again, like, communication and friendship are two of the core factors that we look at, we talk about coaching couples on. And I think this is really key. If your spouse isn't your friend, like, that's your number one protocol.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be developing that friendship throughout the entirety of your relationship. Mm-hmm. It's not good enough for you to have, you know, started building a friendship while you were courting, then, oh yeah, I got the girl, or you got the guy, you're married now, and it's like, boom, we're done with that. Like, this needs to be a perpetual activity for the life of your marriage. Mm-hmm. This is key. Mm-hmm. This is key.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I think we're wrapped, man.
Got any more points? We covered everything.
I think we're good. I think we got everything there. I think, I think. The last point that is, we've kind of summed it up, but just to kind of wrap it in a way, is just really to get back to the origins of your marriage. And we talk about this on a regular basis. If we're talking with couples, and it's one of those key things. It's like, if there's an issue, you really need to evaluate, why did we get married in the first place? What was it about you? What was it about me? What was it about us? What did we see? Where were we going? And there's like your original goals. You need to go back to your original grace. Like, those two things are super key, because it's where you started from. And sometimes we move so far away because of circumstances, situations, challenges from where we started, that we feel like it's like we're new people. And in a way you are, yet those original goals are still meaningful. But it's like, you left one country to go to another country. Like, thinking back to the airport that you left, or the location that you were in, sometimes can feel like so far away, but it's necessary, especially if that location is home.
Yeah.
All right. If that location is home, it's so significant for us to be able to have the capacity to go back there, to recall things from there, to navigate from that space, because that is home. Yeah. We need to constantly get back there. We can travel anywhere, but we need to get back to our anchor. We need to get back to home. So yeah, I think that's key.
Yeah, definitely.
Yo.
Yes.
Yeah, so thank you so much, guys, for those of you who are around today. We appreciate you. Hello, everyone in the chat. I think we've got one comment up there at the top end. Yep. Ecosmios, I'll throw that one up really quickly before we flow. Ecosmios says, yes, many people's relationships are paralyzed by fear. And I think it's super key, man. I think this is such a major factor that people need to fully address and acknowledge. And we spoke about that. It's just like, there are so many aspects of life that fear causes that paralysis.
Massive. Do
you know what I'm saying? So, from repairing, even getting into relationships in the first place, maybe because of past hurts, past challenges, past traumas, and then, like we said, middle of the stream, people that have had a trauma in the relationship, that trauma can stop them from trying to attempt again, to go again, to move again, all that kind of stuff, because it's a major issue. Every time you have an argument, there's no resolution. Every time you speak, it's like you're not being heard. So obviously those things are major factors. Thank you, Cosmos. Thank you so much for that. We just want to say hey and send out love to everybody who's on the stream today. We do see you. We see those comments, and we appreciate you guys, all of you.
Jumped in with one more. Let's see what she says there.
Okay, you want to read that? Go for it.
Is it on the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. I think a lot of... thank you. I think a lot of playing the games and misleading starts in courtship. Then people think they just switch it off when they're married, but it's not that easy. But then it's set into the foundation. Yeah.
It's autopilot, isn't it?
Exactly. And we spoke about putting your best foot forward when courting, and then, you know, holding up a particular character, and then you get married 2-3 years later, and it's just like, where's the guy I married? Like, where's he gone? Or where's the woman I married? Like, where's she gone? Kind of thing. And a lot of people are taken back by that. But then again, this is why I said in the beginning that we have to understand what love is, because if we've got this fake understanding, the worldly understanding of what love is, a lot of couples are going to find themselves into asking themselves that question.
Yeah.
Does my spouse love me? You know, but then it is about understanding what love is. So she said, but then set into the foundation of the relationship rather than having a foundation of trust and friendship. Yeah. Okay, right. You know, and that is absolutely just correct, because, like, I think you said it just now about building a friendship is so important. Like, your spouse has to, and I don't think we can emphasize this enough, guys. Honestly, I don't think we can emphasize this enough. I would rather, you know, if someone said to me, "Oh, we've been friends for like years," and they get married after, you know, courting for 5 months. They've been friends forever. Whereas two people who've been in the relationship for 2 years and then you get married and, you know, they didn't even really have a friendship. Their best friend is still someone else and his best friend is still someone else. It's kind of like, no, friends understand what love is, if you get what I'm saying. Unconditional, because they're there for you regardless, like, no matter what. Do you get what I'm saying? They'll drag you out of the mud, they'll drag you for, you know, they'll pull you out of here, they will go through any lengths to make sure that you're okay. So even if you know, and this is another thing that I don't feel like the world puts enough emphasis on friendship. They put more emphasis on you know, intimacy, sexual intimacy, or how does he look? Is she, you know, what size is she? What's her size waist, and what does he do for a living? You know, all the things that just don't matter later on down the line. You know what I mean? All the things that don't matter later on down the line. This is what a lot of the world is focusing on. But if you can step away from that and understand that, no, they're not presenting things properly. This is what love really is. Yeah. Then you know, it's a lot easier to not find yourself in certain situations, I'd say. So yeah,
a lot of stuff.
Yes. I'm good. Thank you guys so much. So no, we love you guys so much, and we just really want to thank each and every one of you for tuning in with us tonight. I am Sarah. I go first today. Yeah, he gave me the opportunity to go first. Like, I don't know what to say.
This is Ezekiel.
And I'm Sarah.
And we've been here today for another episode of Marriage Matters Live. Listen, guys, we love you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Remember, the whole purpose of this playlist, I say it again, is solely for us to support you guys to develop and enrich your marriage, your relationship for the glory of God. We'll be back same time in a fortnight.
All right.
Bless you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.